What's going on, Grizz Nation? Welcome into another Grizz Game Day update presented by Valley Sports Southeast. I'm Kelcey. I am joined once again by ESPN's Tim MacMahon. Tim, thank you for being here again for the fifth time this year.
No problem. The Grizz are fun. I'm actually going to follow them down to San Antonio this week.
Are you really?
I am. Can't get enough of those Grizz.
Oh my goodness, they're in your state and okay, I love that. First things first, though, the Grizzlies are taking on the Mavericks tonight in Dallas. This is the fourth and final matchup between these two teams. The Grizzlies trying to even it out. The Mavs have 2 wins. The Grizz 1 win. And the Mavs are going to try and do what no team has done so far, and that's win at home tonight. The tip-off is at 6:30 Central Time. And I'm going to go really quickly through the injury report for the Grizzlies because I feel like it's very important. Steven Adams and Brandon Clark are both questionable at this point when we're filming this. And then Kyle, Dez, Tyus, and of course Dylan are all out. And now I knew kind of going into things, Luka is good to go. He's like off the injury report. They've said he's playing tonight, but he did have a little bit of an injury on Thursday against the Suns. Now I didn't watch that game, Tim. What happened?
So he took a hard fall and did something to his neck, and it's similar to what he did in the playoffs last year. He played through in the playoffs, but he's the other night, and also in the playoffs, he actually had trouble looking either way. So which is problematic, especially if you play point guard. So we'll see if it bothers him tonight. But he did practice yesterday. He actually finished the game the other night. Like you said, he's not on the injury report. The Mavericks have about as clean an injury report as you'll find at this point in the season. Sterling Brown won't play, but you're talking about a fringe rotation guy. Everybody else is healthy and ready to go for Dallas.
All right, so that is unfortunate for the Grizzlies, I guess, because a full-strength Dallas team is not the team you want to go up against when you're down so many guys for the Grizzlies, especially 9 days after the Mavs broke an 11-game win streak for the Grizzlies. You think the Grizzlies are coming in on a little bit of a revenge tour. Not only do they want to, even out the series, get one more game ahead of their division rival. I'm calling them rivals now. I don't care what anyone says. But also they want to, get that win. So we look at the game tonight. It's really the big storyline, Luka versus Ja once again. What are you most looking forward to? What's going to happen between these two guys?
Well, and obviously they're not going to guard each other, but we're talking about two of the best two of the best players in the league. You can even take out the young in that. Two guys who, it's not difficult to envision this being a rivalry that for the next 10, 12 years. I mean, obviously Memphis hopes Ja's in a Grizzlies uniform his whole career. The same thing for Mavericks fans as far as Luka goes in Dallas. And, but not just these two guys, these two teams are playing about as well as anybody in the league right now, aside from, obviously the Phoenix Suns are in that conversation. But, look at the last 15 games, the Grizzlies have the best record in the league. The Mavericks are tied for the second best record in the league. And what Dallas has done so well this month is they've morphed into this defensive monster. And so I'm very, this is going to be a huge challenge for Ja, especially given that the Grizzlies have so many other pieces out. He's obviously going to be the focal point for the Mavericks defense that has made life difficult on a lot of guys lately.
Can we talk about Ja and the Mavericks defense then? Because I was just before we logged on to Zoom, I was watching highlights from the last game here in Memphis. And at times, and Luka was actually like this too, it was both of them. There was times where it looked like they could just go and score whenever they wanted to. They were both kind of just picking apart the key, getting to their spots and being able to score. Now Bane is out, which obviously helps space the floor for the Grizzlies. It spaces, gets the guys out of the key. You're hoping Jaren Jackson Jr. can hit some threes, of course, on the offensive end. And then we don't know about Steven Adams yet. So if you're going into this, is the goal to just pack the paint, just keep Ja out?
Yeah, I think the goal is to keep Ja from dominating off the dribble, to keep him from dominating the game in the paint, like you said, both at the rim. And he's got such a good floater game, when he's not able to get all the way to the rim, and really to probably get the ball out of his hands. I would expect the Mavericks to send a lot of high double teams his way. When you're talking about doubling a guy 30 feet from the basket, just to force the ball out of his hands. Without Bane, who's really been their second best offensive weapon all year, force somebody else to beat them. And I'm curious to see I think with a guy like Ja, you want to give him a lot of different looks. You're not, if you give him the same look, he's too smart. He'll pick it apart. Same thing with Luka. But I'm curious to see who's the primary defender on him. The last time the Mavericks faced the Grizzlies, Dorian Finney-Smith is by far their best defense player, and kind of showing his versatility. He started off on Desmond Bane because that's kind of the guy who gets the Grizzlies going early. Then he spent some time on Jaren Jackson Jr., and then they threw him at John Morant in the second half when Morant tends to take over games. I'm curious to see if he just spends most of the night now on Ja.
And it's funny that you said that's like when Ja takes over, and that's when Dorian went over. It was the Mavs that took over in the second half, in Memphis. So, I mean, if you're looking at past experience, that would be a key to go to. Let's flip though and talk about Luka now on the offensive end. In the last game, he was 0 for 6 from the 3-point line. Still had an incredible game, which obviously annoys everyone in Memphis because we wanted that W. But he's going into today. Hopefully he can look both ways. Desmond is out. Dylan Brooks obviously out. So it looks like he's probably going to get guarded a lot by committee, like we talk about all the time, but Zaire Williams and John Conchar and some guys that, DeAnthony Melton that he might not have a lot of, time up against. What does he look to do? How do the Grizzlies stop Luka Doncic without their main defenders?
Yeah, I think it's a similar type of deal where you want to keep Luka from dominating the game in the paint. And it's a little bit, it's easier said than done because, especially like a guy like Zaire Williams, boy, you're going to have to send some help because he's just not going to be physically strong enough to keep Luka from kind of playing bully ball. But right now, if you're playing Luka Doncic, you want to make him prove that he can beat you from the perimeter. Mm-hmm. He's been in a pretty extended 3-point funk. He was 4 of 10 the other night against Toronto. Hit a huge one down the stretch. That was when he had a 41-point game. Other than that, Luka really has not been in a groove at all. Like I said, he's been in a funk as a shooter. Now, Luka in a funk, you'll look up and
still has 40 points.
He'll have like an inefficient 22 points, but then it'll be 10 rebounds, 12 assists. He's obviously capable of dominating in other ways, but the Mavericks, they've been winning defensively, and in a lot of cases, they've been winning despite Luka not shooting the ball well. So again, if you're guarding Luka at this point, hey, maybe it'll be the night where he gets into a groove of that step back, but he hasn't had many of those nights lately.
All right. Real quick, the one stat that you think the Mavs need to dominate in order to win tonight?
Honestly, I don't know. This isn't necessarily a stat that you dominate, but the big stat for the Mavericks is they have been holding a crazy amount of opponents, including the Grizzlies, the Bulls, the Warriors, the Nuggets, high caliber opponents under 100. Mm-hmm. If you hold a team under 100, it's hard to lose in today's NBA, and that's kind of their nightly goal at this point.
All right, so defense, just period defense,
and
the Grizzlies are without some of their scorers, so
right, and Jaren Jackson Jr. obviously is capable of stepping up and having those explosive scoring games. I think the Grizzlies are definitely going to need that out of him tonight. Mm-hmm. And look, John Morant, sometimes their game plan doesn't matter, especially if he's able to get out in transition.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with points in the paint. Speaking of transition, that's where Ja likes to score. The Mavs outscored them in the paint by 18 points in the last game. And that is not something that is common with the Grizzlies. They always dominate the paint. And so I think they need to get back there. We'll see if Steven Adams is in, because that's a big component of it as well with, offensive boards and second chance points. But defense for the Mavs, scoring for the Grizzlies. That's how basketball
points in the paint, Mavericks defense, pretty closely related. And I will say, as far as the last time they played, you have to recognize it was a back-to-back for the Grizzlies. It was the 8th game in 12 nights. I don't necessarily look at that game and say, okay, this is definitely going to carry over into this one.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was not cutting them slack, but you're right. We should. Tim, thank you. And good luck.
Always a pleasure.
Have fun today. Have fun in San Antonio. And is it Thursday, Wednesday, later this week?
I don't know, but I'll be there. I never know what day it is. I just know whether I need to get on a flight or not.
All right. Well, have a safe flight. Have a good game today. Guys, if you're at home, remember the tip-off is at 6:30 Central Time tonight on Valley Sports Southeast.